Rajeev, Andy, thank you for joining me on stage here this morning. Rajeev and Andy are from Nationwide, and they have a very similar solution to what Jane just went through in that video, powered by FICO Platform. And we thought we'd spend a few minutes maybe exploring that a little bit, talking about what you folks have been up to and what's next with FICO Platform. For those of you who don't know, Nationwide is actually the largest building society in the world. They have about 16 million customers. They're the second largest issuer of mortgages in the UK, or UKI. And we're really fortunate and lucky to have you here with us this morning. Rajeev, you run credit risk or unsecured credit risk for Nationwide. And Andy, you're the technology lead for the credit risk group. We have been partners for almost 20 years. And almost 4 years ago, we started our journey together with FICO Platform. Rajeev, what were some of those sort of market challenges? What was happening from a macro perspective that led you folks to want to put in place FICO Platform and start to transform your business?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So in the UK, the mortgage market is very dynamic. It's very competitive. There's lots and lots of change. Those changes might be product innovation. They might be pricing or policy changes. All of the lenders are trying to get an edge. And it could be just a market opportunity that they just want to tap into. So the ability to change quickly is a key driver. On the consumer side, which is the area that I look after, you've got a further complication of new entrants to the market. They're digital suppliers. Some of them might be in the room now, so I'll be careful what I say. But they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the legacy. So they're able to get out quickly and compete very quickly. And then underpinning all of this, you've actually got this massive surge of new data, non-traditional data. You've got the credit data, but you've got new data sources. So that could be payroll data, it could be tax data. Then you've got technologies like machine learning. And really, it's trying to tap into all of those key drivers in terms of driving that forward.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, in fact, Liz Billiard, who was here earlier from BMO, one of the things BMO does really well, and one of the core foundations for their start on FICO Platform with us was really this sort of expansion of the data set in their decision-making capability. And I love that you shared the same thing here, Rajeev. Rajeev, you guys had real clarity of vision in terms of how you wanted to make decisioning.
Yeah.
You know, where you wanted to take your decisioning.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So very much a build on what I've just talked about in terms of the environment. We needed a lending platform that was quick, allowed us to get to market very, very quickly, and that was one of the key drivers. We also wanted to be able to consume this data and be future-proof, so that if new sources, new microservices came along, we could also consume that and integrate it into the service. And in doing so, we can streamline the customer journeys. What we could also do is reduce the fallout and increase sales. And then the other key element, and I'm sure this resonates with most people in the room, is doing that at a very cost-efficient way. So managing the costs in that environment. So those were the key.
Doing it at scale, doing it in a cost-efficient way.
Speed, scale, cheaply.
Yeah, and low latency. Yeah, fantastic. You know, clearly in order to do something like this, and you even brought that up, I mean, it's remarkable to me today how much, you know, even as a business person, you have to understand the technology behind it. And you mentioned sort of microservices earlier, right? I mean, if you had really thought about, go back in time 20 years and thought about how many business people would even need to know what microservices mean or how they function and, you know, what their purpose is, you'd be few and far between. Andy, you know, clearly there was a platform approach sort of required in order to put in place some of the stuff you guys are dreaming up and wanting to put in place. Why does a platform approach make sense in a scenario like this and in your context?
Yeah, I think there's a number of reasons why a platform approach makes sense for us. I think firstly, FICO, it's a managed service by FICO, so in terms of the upgrades, it's all managed by them. That means that we can take the upgrades more frequently, so we're up to date with the latest features that come about. Previously, when we had the on-premise Blaze Advisor, they never got the priority. So it'd be within 12 months up to 2 years before we do certain upgrades. So we were lacking on some of the features. I think the second thing is the infrastructure. Obviously, FICO as well manages all the infrastructure, the security. That means from our perspective in nationwide IT, we focus on the integration, the orchestration, the data, and linking to the channels. And then finally, the platform itself has a seamless process to deliver change into production. And I think there's a great example of that. 2 months ago, we had a priority 2 incident. It was identified in the morning, and we were able to identify the fix and deliver that within 2 hours. Previously, like I said, when we were on premise, that would have been 12 hours, 24 hours, just due to some of the constraints and the potential of wider impact.
Yeah, so flexibility, agility, speed to market, and the ability to actually empower your business partners. Let's hold that thought and actually come back to that thought in the next segment here. Yeah. As we just saw the Jane video, we've got a second set of videos that sort of go with these that talk a little bit about how you would configure FICO Platform or how FICO Platform would be pulled together to actually solve for that first video that you saw. So let's see the companion video to this, and then we'll come back to our conversation. We were talking a little bit about empowering businesses. Would love to hear a little bit more, Andy, about how you, the technology organization at Nationwide, are actually enabling, empowering Rajeev and his brethren.
Yeah, so we've had an excellent outcome because overall the business managed the full delivery lifecycle. So that's requirements, the build work, all of the testing, and then the ability to put it into production as well. So from an IT perspective, we're only involved in some cases a small amount of regression testing and maybe approving a change to go into live. What that means is that we can focus then on newer capabilities, integration to new data providers, and really add benefits. So we're delivering faster and more often because of that.
One of the things that you shared with me in a conversation we had a while ago, Andy, was about how, from a technology perspective as well, you are no longer in the nuts and bolts of actually running and operating something. And that's really allowed you folks to now start to think about what's next. Could you talk a little bit about what that actually means for you as a technology organization?
Yeah, it means that we've moved away from being clustered with BAU types of change, and we can focus on the newer capabilities that we can introduce. So later down the line, we're looking at an area that really excites us is we've got a data science function, and they've got a mortgage machine learning model. And they came to us with a requirement that we needed to link that with our mortgage originations strategies. So we've now got the capability with the FICO platform to introduce the MLX component, which then this Python model can be deployed natively, linked with the strategies, and deliver a lot of enhancements to the business, potentially market leading.
Fantastic. Fantastic, right? You've now put that power in them, and you're creatively actually working with them to bring that next thing to market. Talking about bringing next things to market, Rajeev, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the learnings that you guys went through. Yeah. Most organizations have different decisioning systems, and you guys have really started to centralize this thing. You went live with mortgages. Yep. Now you're actually migrating and putting new use cases on it as well, and making those credit-related decisions across multi-use types. I'm sure you had tremendous learnings coming through this process. Could you share some of those, please?
I'll share one. So we started off, we knew there was a lot of investment. We wanted to get the biggest return on that investment. So we picked our biggest portfolio, which was a mortgage portfolio. It sounds great. You realize the benefits.
Slay the 800-pound gorilla right off the bat.
Absolutely. However, mortgages are the most complex. And I think if we were to do this again, and if I was to give advice to anybody, it would be, let's start with a less complex product, get the team more familiar with the platform, learn the skills, and then they're in a much better position to then do the gorilla.
I love the words you've used in the past when you've talked about this in terms of fast follow.
Yes,
fast
follow.
Yeah,
exactly.
Go ahead, you share.
Yeah, so you still want the business benefits, but you need the capability, you need the competence, and you need the confidence Once you do that, you can then follow that through with that next mortgage one. So if I was to do my time again, I would say let's start with personal loans, less complex. Still a big benefit, but clearly then do the fast follower on the mortgage side.
I have a follow-on question for you, but before we get to that, Andy, maybe you might even answer this before I ask. Your thoughts on this?
So there's a couple of lessons learned from us, and it sort of links with the complexity of the first product, which was mortgages. So from a testing perspective, we sort of assessed that too late, we prepared for it too late. And due to the complexity, we needed to build some bespoke capability to improve the testing and satisfy the business, and that included the FICO testing suite as well. So the lesson there really is to prepare much earlier around the testing, and set up the approach. And secondly is run. So when you into production, the model is slightly changed. We needed to focus on the instant management processes, responsibilities across Nationwide and FICO, get the communication channels open, and also the observability with proactive monitoring. So try and get ahead of the user being impacted with the appropriate alerts into his IT functions to address the problem as quick as possible. We didn't, again, address that early enough and then suffered from some minor problems just initially. So that's certainly a lesson learned and one we're taking forward with the other products.
Fantastic, and I know the FICO team has actually heard this. We've incorporated this into our own recommendations that we make to clients in terms of how to approach it and how to plan for that fast follow. So let's design it right up front and make sure that we're prepared and ready to go from that first one to the second one to the third one. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I know you folks have seen some very interesting results as a consequence of putting a platform in place. Rajeev, would you share a little bit about what you folks are seeing?
So I think the biggest benefit for me is the way that we can engage with stakeholders. So currently, or previously, we used to have lots of competing priorities, and then you get an unplanned activity, and I'm sure this is very familiar with everybody, and it would just grind the machine to a halt. And now what we're able to do is, because you've got the ability to do multiple tests, and you can run things in parallel, you can continue doing that testing, and you can slot something in a lot quicker. So it allows us to be more agile and continue with that development, and it's not lost time. So it's a massive contribution in terms of how that's really helped us.
Giving you the power, giving you the flexibility, giving you the ability to test and learn, and the agility to actually do multiple things at the same time.
And react to things that we weren't thinking about.
React to things you weren't thinking about. I love that. Fantastic. Anything you want to share, Andy, on that?
I think, like Rajeev was saying, I think it's the speed to market has been massive. Being able to deliver BAU change much quicker with no real IT involvement, so empowering the business is a major factor.
Fantastic. Empowering the business, right? what could be better than
hands.
that? All right, guys, last question from me. What's next?
So from my perspective, as I mentioned, the machine learning piece is key. I think that's going to add significant value to the business. That's obviously if we can get it through Rajeev and the credit committee and the governance. But that's going to be, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we'll leverage the MLX function within the FICO platform. After that, or alongside that, we're going to be focusing on customer management. So that's going to be for credit cards, addressing the overdraft renewal processing, and introducing pre-assessments for credit cards and personal loans as well. So we're leveraging the pipeline capability on the FICO platform. Initially, we will be focusing on batch, but longer term, we want to move forward into more event-driven decisioning within that space and offer the members the best possible outcome.
Fabulous. Fantastic. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I will. So immediately, we've put a lot of time and effort to get this platform in. And again, you want to just maximize the returns. So in the short term, one of the things I want my team to do is to look at alternative strategies. I want them to look at different policies and see what that does, and have multiple champion challenges, as we call it in the trade. And trial that, get the learnings very quickly, and then make it live, roll that out. And then in the medium term, it's back to consuming that new data, being really alive to the fact that there are new sources, non-traditional sources, and using that in the way that we can streamline journeys and make it more efficient.
Fantastic. Sounds super exciting. We're excited to be on this journey with you guys and to see how you continue to go from success to success. Thank you so much for being at FICO World.
Pleasure.
Really look forward to spending the next few days with you guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Much.